again, this is Diana from LA Nightball. All right, welcome to part 4 of our 5-part basics of tennis. The serve, I should say, is probably, technically speaking, the most complex shot. And there's a couple of reasons for that. So let's go ahead and break it down. All right, first things first, as always, we're going to talk about our grip. So our grip is going to be that same continental grip. If you remember the very first lesson, I mentioned we're going to have 2 grips, one for our forehand and then one that we use for everything else. This is the continental, the one we use for everything else. So you're going to start off with that grip. Now, the reason why it's a little bit tricky is because it's the only shot actually where you're doing things with both arms at the same time, and both have to be pretty precise. So you're going to get in a sideways stance. Your racket, so your right arm and your left arm will be moving at the same time, almost like a pendulum, like a grandfather clock, right? This is moving at the same time. When this gets to the top of your shoulder, you're going to release the tennis ball. This right here is going to drop. Okay, so let's take a look at that from a different angle. So the feet sideways. So you're back here. This is also known as the back scratch position, right? So out, scratch your back, pull out, turn, and down. One very important note, because you have the continental grip, if you just pull your racket straight out like this, you're going to hit it with the edge. So you need to turn your forearm right here. This is known as pronation. And the reason we do this is that's what gives you the ability to add power to your serve, but still have it go in. So if I just had my forehand grip and just hit it as hard as I could this way, I wouldn't be able to put any sort of spin or slice or anything on the ball. So when I start to add power, it wouldn't go in. So a lot of people get confused and they say, well, I can't hit the ball like this. I'm gonna hit it with my edge. You need to turn. So edge, turn. This is where you actually make contact when you've turned your racket, and then just literally straight down. A little modification. So sometimes the full motion is a little bit tricky. The timing is a little bit difficult to get for a beginner. So what you can do, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with this, you can start from the back scratch position, just toss, hit, and follow through. It's a little bit of a shortened serve. You're eventually not going to get as much power this way because you're losing a little bit of that momentum. But when you're starting out, this is actually a fantastic way to get to make it a little bit easier on yourself, to get a little more precision. So just start with the back scratch, toss, and hit, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Good, so once you have that down, you want to make sure that your toss is consistent. So that means always tossing it, not necessarily in the same spot. Eventually, when you learn different types of serves, you're going to want to place it a little bit differently, but you always want to make sure that for that type of serve, it's going in the same place. So a good drill for that is just to put your racket in front of your foot straight on the ground and just toss the ball up and try to have it bounce on the strings. If you don't want to put your racket down, just toss and just always have the same placement. Try to have it bounce in the same spot. The other thing is when you're tossing the ball, make sure you're not moving your wrist. So with the ball toss, it's almost like there's 2 ways. You can do it this way, like you're holding an ice cream cone, or you can do it with the palm up. Either way, make sure you're not moving your wrist as you toss. All right, and that's the serve. Tune in next time and we'll be doing our last part of this series, and it'll be on rally. All right, thanks for watching. Happy playing.